Oh, good. Good to see everybody coming on. I thought it was just going to be Shaul and I, but
Yeah, we were for a minute.
so good to see everyone. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And welcome everyone to this special webinar. I'm here with my close friend and colleague, Rabbi Shaul Rosenblatt from London, from the UK. And I'm just so happy that we're together and being able to share this understanding with you. Shaw is a pioneer, really, in bringing the principles internationally. And it started with the conference we're going to talk about with you and started to become known in the UK, in London and England. And then it just went internationally from there. And I was just going to share with everyone that the year before COVID, we had in person over 900 people from almost all over the world, really. And what a testament to Shaul's pioneer work. And he'll talk with you about that. He's the CEO of Better World Charities. Part of that organization is a rabbinical training program in which he shares with up and coming rabbis the principles education. And he's well respected, very much respected in the three principles world. So, what we have planned, Shaw, together is, to share with you, you share with us how you came to this understanding and what this conference is all about and what it means for you. And then hear from all of you. We'd love to keep this interactive. And if we have time together, maybe we'll talk a bit about how this understanding has helped us in our relationships. That's always kind of fun to talk with. Shaul is just a real close friend of mine. And over the years of my going over to the UK, at first to just present at the conference and then do other things, I've spent Shabbat and some other time with him and his family, and I feel like I'm part of the family now, and have loved that experience. It's just been beautiful. With Shaw, as you'll see, as a human being who is a gentle, loving soul and is full of love and has a good sense of humor. So maybe we'll have some laughs. So, Shaw, I'll leave it in your hands to go
Well,
ahead
great,
and share
thank
with
you.
people here.
I'm just going to switch my phone off because I just got a call. I want to get more. Um, no, I can't switch to flight mode during a call. Typical. Okay, well, hopefully I get ahead of the curve with that person calling me because I know that person keeps calling. So I got to find the moment when he's not calling to switch into flight mode. Oh, there we go. Gotcha. Okay, so I'm really excited to be here with Mark because I don't want this to be the Mutual Appreciation Society, but I just love working with Mark, and I just love doing things with Mark. And Mark has been so generous with his time, with the conference, with the rabbis, with myself, with my wife. It's really I've just love any moment I get with Mark and just enjoy spending the time with you. So thank you, Mark, and good to be here with you. Um, I thought I'd share a little bit. Sometimes I kind of share the story of how I've got involved with the principles to start with, and I find that I get in my head that everyone's heard this before and they're all bored with it, and then they know it all before. So I'm going to kind of come from a little bit of a different angle. But if it is an interesting story in of itself, and if people haven't heard me tell it, then I might kind of go back a little further down the line and tell you about it. But let's see how we go. I want to kind of talk about it from a different angle first. So, 20 or so years ago, um, I kind of know pretty much exactly when it was because we just had my first wife passed away, and I got remarried, and we just had our first child. So my first child of my second marriage, and she's 21 now. So it was 21 years ago, And I was a rabbi running an organization in Jewish education, and I was pretty frustrated. I was pretty frustrated with my educational work and my educational abilities. And one thing was that, I was looked at myself, I'd kind of set myself up as a rabbi. That's what a rabbi should be, as sort of a spiritual mentor to sort of guide people spiritually. And if I was really honest with myself, I didn't really have any idea how to do that. And I wasn't really being successful at doing that. Not only that, people were coming to me with all sorts of problems, whatever it might be: depression, bipolar, eating disorders, OCD, all of these labels that kind of people come with, addictions. And I felt totally out of my depth, had no idea what to do. And I really felt discouraged, incredibly discouraged in the work that I was doing, to the point at which I was kind of ready to give up. I really was. And then by accident, really by accident, I came across the principles. I ended up in Lacona in Washington State, and spending some time with Aaron Tanner, who you guys probably know of, and Keith Blevins, who you probably know as well. And it really changed my life. It really just pointed me in a very, very different direction. Now, interestingly, as you'll hear Sid say, he often says, go back to your churches, go back to your kind of where you come from, and live your lives, but just bring this understanding into it. This understanding is not necessarily there to change what you're doing, or the life you live, or the values you have, or your beliefs, but it's just there to help you understand how to be human, and what it means to be human, and what it means to interact with other human beings, and how to do better with regards to that. So I did that. I kind of just went back to my life. I took Sid at his word and went back to my life. And yet this understanding has really been the underpinning of my life ever since then. I would say, my wife says this as well, that nothing really changed in my life, and yet everything changed in my life. Nothing really changed. If you look at me on the surface, yeah, I did make some slightly different decisions, but in terms of still Jewish religion, still a rabbi, still educating that. And yet everything changed in terms of how I see the world, and how I see people, and what I see education to be, and how to go about doing that. And I'm going to talk a little bit kind of about that, and what that is, and what's sort of changed for me. And that will bring me on to kind of why I started the conference in the first place, and kind of what the conference is about now, and how it's developed and changed since really COVID was a turning point for us, and the conference has gone in a little bit of a different direction since then, and in my mind a better direction. But I'll talk about that when I get there as well. So when I was educating, let's say 22 or so years ago, I'd been in education for maybe 10, 12 years. And my rabbi, who was a really great man in many ways, he had a lot of things that he felt, if you want to educate and you want to point people in a spiritual direction, you need to be able to do these things. And I'm going to say four things. And I'll be honest, I didn't have a clue how to do any of them. But he was honest. He didn't really have much of a clue how to do them either. But we just knew they needed to be done. We just knew that you've got to be able to do this if you want to help people. And so one of them was, you've got to help people find out what they know for themselves. You've got to help people find out how to have confidence in what they know, and trust what they know, and trust what they see. And help them find independence as a result of that. That was number one. Number two was, he talked about, again, especially as a rabbi and in a religious sort of setting, you've got to point people towards the spiritual within themselves. you've got to help them find that. You've got to help them find God inside themselves, not outside there, but inside. And again, if you can't do that, then what are you doing as a rabbi? What are you doing as a spiritual educator? And then the third thing is, he said, he used to talk about, there's a great story in Jewish tradition that is it's a metaphor. So don't take it literally. The rabbis don't mean this literally, but they say that when a child is in its mother's womb, an angel comes to it and teaches that child all of wisdom, all there is to know about this world, all of human wisdom and godly wisdom. And then when the child kind of is born, it says the angel touches the child under the nose, and they say that's what this little indentation is for, and it forgets it all. It's all gone. And that's kind of the sort of rabbinic traditional story that they tell, which gets you questioning, well, what's the point in that? Teach it all wisdom and then it forgets. Why would you do such a thing? Because the rabbis are pointing to the fact that all of wisdom is inside of us already. It's all there. We just got a little distracted from it. We've just got a little gone down a garden path, kind of in a different direction. The wisdom's there and it's available to us. We just need to be able to kind of settle down and find it. And that was his third thing, was we need to be able to kind of show people how to find their own wisdom, where to look to find their own wisdom. So those are the three things. There was a fourth as well, but it slipped my mind. But that's plenty, plenty already.
Yeah.
So it was show people how to trust themselves, trust their own self, and have confidence in what they know. Find their own wisdom, and know that they have wisdom, and point them towards a spirituality within themselves. And I didn't know how to do any of those things. And like I say, nor did he. We tried, and we tried this, and we tried that, and we tried the other, but just nothing seemed to work. And then all of a sudden, I came across these principles. And overnight, by magic, all of a sudden you had to do all of them. To me, the principles point you towards doing all of that. They point you towards knowing what you know, and feeling confident in what you know, and trusting what you know. They point you towards a sense of your own spiritual identity, and the godliness that lies within. And they point you towards wisdom and finding your own wisdom, and how to do that, and where to look, and how to look, and what that's about. And that was just amazing for me, because my rabbi always said, if you can't find it within Judaism, then go and seek it elsewhere, because those three things are just essential to human existence. And he was unusual like that. You won't find a lot of religious teachers that would say that. They would say, no, if you can't find it in our religion, then keep looking in our religion, because that's the only place to find truth. That's where truth is. And if you haven't found it yet, then just keep looking there. He was like, no, if you haven't found a way to find this in our religion, then look elsewhere in the world and see where you can find it, and bring it back to us, and bring it back to our community. But you've got to find it somewhere, because this is crucial. Without this, human beings are struggling. Without this, human beings are having a really hard time. And as a bonus, by the way, almost immediately when I came across this understanding, I wasn't afraid anymore of someone coming to me with depression, of someone coming to me with addiction, of someone coming to me with anything they would come to me with. I wasn't afraid. I felt I've got something to say about that. I've got an understanding as to kind of what's behind that. I've got an understanding as to how that works, and what they're struggling with, and why they're struggling with it. And I can kind of know how to be helpful with that. So it was just it was a godsend for me, these three principles. It was just incredible. And apart from anything else, it really helped me massively in my own life. And in particular, as Mark was saying earlier, in my relationship and my relationship with my wife. It massively, massively helped me. It gave me so much insight into things that experiences that I would have had with her prior to this understanding that made no sense to me. And I just couldn't understand what was going on. And why are we fighting? And why are we frustrated with each other? And why is she so upset? And why am I caught up in this? And I didn't have any idea. I went from that to like, oh, this makes perfect sense. I see how this works now. I get this. Now, that doesn't mean to say that there weren't kind of times when I struggled and got lost and got frustrated. But overall, there were so many places in my life that the minute I came across this understanding, things really kind of changed for me. And I got really excited about it. And so I felt like this has to be what I'm doing, bringing this to the Jewish community initially in the UK. I need to kind of recalibrate my work to be bringing these three principles to the Jewish community in the UK. Now, what happened was, as a rabbi, Judaism was what I knew, and it was my background, and it was my kind of history, and it was my so that the sea that I swam in. So when I first started teaching the principles, I wanted to teach them from a Jewish perspective, using Jewish language, using language that the Jews would feel comfortable with, the Orthodox Jews would feel comfortable with. And I realized over time that that wasn't a good idea, that wasn't a good way of doing it, because I'm trying to fit the principles into a box, into the box that I want them to be in. And over time, I learned that the principles are universal truths. And actually, they're the box that everything else fits into. You can't put them in a box. They are the box. There's no, everything else is really just a manifestation of them. And everything else is really just a sense of kind of understanding of how they are working in the world, or how they are coming out in the world, or how people are using them in the world. And so that was kind of a learning curve for me to kind of realize that no, don't do that. Don't teach it that way. Teach it what it is. Show what it is. Show what you see. Show what you know. Show what you've learned and understood for yourself. Don't try and start to get clever with it and kind of put it in a particular way or in a particular language or so that was kind of how I started off. And then over time, once I did that, I realized, why am I sharing this only with my community? At that time in the UK, there was very little going on with the principles. There was very little. There were a few people around here and there. I think Jamie Smart maybe at that time was doing something already, but that might have even been before he was sort of sharing these ideas in the UK. And so I felt like, gosh, we got to get this out there. And so we were very fortunate. The Sid Banks came and did a 3-day event for us here in the UK. And I always kick myself when I say this. And it always annoys me when I tell this story, because we didn't record him doing it. It's so frustrating to me. What on earth got into us that we didn't record it? That is like gold. That is like we had some gold in our hands and we kind of let it slip through, and it was right there and it was there for us. I mean, it was an amazing event and it was beautiful, and him sharing was just absolutely amazing. But we kind of missed. I felt like we missed an opportunity there. And I'll tell you another funny thing with Sid when he came is that, when I came back to England, the first thing I did was I said to my wife, "You got to learn about this. This is going to change your life. This is just such an amazing understanding, and it's so powerful, and it's so meaningful, and it's so deep, and it's so profound." And my lovely wife said to me, very nice, but I'm not interested. And I said, "But it's so profound." She said, "Well, I don't care. I don't want to know about any of this. I'm happy with my life and leave me alone. Stop bothering me with this nonsense. She really gave me a hard time, a really hard time. So I was persistent. She wasn't going to get away with not learning about this. I mean, this was too good to be true for my wife not to learn about it. So I kind of kept at it with her, and I took her to Seattle. She did a 4-day seminar with somebody in Seattle, and at the end of which I said to her, "Well, what did you think? Wasn't that amazing?" And it really was. And she said, "That woman's too happy." That was her sole thing she said. She's too happy, that woman. I don't believe it. I don't think it's true. She put on a show. And I was like, oh my gosh, this woman has spoken from her heart in such a beautiful and deep way. And all you can tell me is she's too happy. That's it. She said, look, we went to her house. She said, look, she's got white carpets in her house. Anyone who has white carpets lives an easy life. She says, let her come to my house with 4 kids. I think we had 5 kids at the time, screaming and shouting and running around. And let's see her with her 3 principles. Then let's see her with her peace of mind and her, settling down and finding a quiet space. She said, no quiet space in my house. Anyway, this was kind of my wife. And then, but I didn't give up. I was persistent with her. She was too important to me to not have her see something here. For there was too much for her in this that I felt could be meaningful for her. And so I had to do a 4-day program with Mara Gleason. I don't know if you guys know Mara Gleason. She did 4 days with Mara Gleason. And then she was still like, well, some nice ideas, but I'm not interested. And then she did 4 days with Aaron Turner. Same thing. Well, yeah, it's kind of nice, but I don't want to know. And then Sid was coming. And I thought, oh, this is it. This is it. This is going to do it for her. This is going to change her life. So I said, I'd love you to spend some time with Sid. And she was like, absolutely not. Not spending time with Sydney Banks. No chance. And I was like, well, how can I get her to spend some time with Sid? And then Sid said to me, he loves shows. He loves Broadway shows. Could we book him to go to a show? And I was like, yes, we can. And I've got the perfect escort for you to take you to the show. I got the perfect partner to go to the show with you because my wife loves shows. And I was like, this is it. This is just the stars have aligned. And Sid and my wife are going to go to the show. And she's going to come back starry-eyed with the 3 principles, just talking to me about mind, consciousness, and thought. She's not even going to notice the show. She's not even going to know what the show was. She's just going to. So anyway, I sent her to the show with Sid. And apparently what happened was she got into the taxi with him. And my wife's Israeli. She's quite forthright and to the point. And sits down with him and says, I just want to tell you, Sid, that I think this stuff is not for me. And very easy for you to talk. You come and live in my home for a couple of weeks and let's see if you have as much peace of mind as you think you have right now. And Sid said to her, oh, dearie, that's okay. He said, I thought we were just going to a show together. And she said, well, yeah, we are. So he said, well, why don't we just go and enjoy the show? And that's what happened. They went and she had such a great time with Sid enjoying the show, which was great. And it was great for him and it was great for her. But it wasn't great for my agenda. I was like, what was the point in that? But that was really nice. It was a learning curve for me, this as well. It was a real learning curve. And now that I brought up kind of that whole thing with my wife, I might as well finish that part of the story. Is that what happened was, this was years. This was probably 5, 6, 7 years that I was really trying to introduce her to the principles. And I basically gave up. I basically said, I'm done. I'm done. I can't do this. Now, it wasn't a giving up from frustration. It was a giving up from insight. It was a giving up because I realized that this is her life and this is her journey, and it's not mine to kind of enforce on her, or to try and kind of push her, or manipulate even. She's got to live her life, and she's got to find her way, and whatever's right for her, that's what she's got to do. And I just let go. I just said, honestly, in my own heart, that if my wife never gets any understanding whatsoever of these principles, I'm really good with that. And I'm fine with that. And that's going to be okay for me. And now she says in retrospect, that was massively helpful for her. That made a big difference for her, that I kind of did that. But what happened was, we had about our third conference coming up. And I know I'm not doing this chronologically. I apologize, but just kind of I started, so I'll finish. You guys have probably never seen University Challenge, have you? It's very English quiz show. Anyone English here? No, okay. Well, I won't bother you with that with University Challenge then. But the quiz master always says I've started, so I'll finish. So we had our third conference, I think it was, and my wife comes to me and she says, would it be okay if I came on the Sunday morning to the conference? And I was like, what who is this? What have you done with my wife? Like, where's she gone? They're like, what, do you want to come to the conference? Am I hearing you right? I said, for sure, please, I'd love you to come. I don't feel like I'm telling you to, though. She says, no, I'd like to hear what they're talking about. And I was like, okay, well, great. So she came on the Sunday morning, and she was still at lunchtime. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then she says to me at lunchtime, do you think it would be okay if I stayed in the afternoon? I was like, please, whatever you want. And then she says to me at the end of the first day, do you think I could, we could get someone to pick up the kids from school tomorrow and take them, because I'd love to come to the conference tomorrow. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'll do it myself, whatever it takes. And she went to the conference, and she finished the conference, and she says to me, I think I've really seen something here. And I think this is really going to change my life. And I was like, well, don't rush in so quick, just, she says, no, it really is. She came to me a week later, and Aaron and what's her name? Mara, at that time, were running a course to train principles practitioners. And she says to me, I'd like to join Aaron and Mara's course to train practitioners. I said to Hannah, 3 weeks ago, you were telling me this is a load of nonsense, and you don't ever want to do it in your life. Now you want to become a practitioner? I'm like, surely there's some steps in between, you need to firstly learn a little more about it, and then get more comfortable with it, and then maybe try sharing it, and then you go on a course for practitioners. Anyway, she was determined. She went on that course for practitioners. Aaron didn't want to take her because the same reasons as me. He knew what she was like. He's like, why is she taking on a course for practitioners? She doesn't even believe in it. Anyway, she, as Mark will attest, she's one of the most incredible practitioners nowadays. And she has such a beautiful understanding of it and shares it so deeply. And I see her changing people's lives on a daily basis with this understanding. And basically, she says what happened was, she always used to joke with me about George Pransky. That I used to put CDs on in the car when she was with me. At the time when I was trying to get her into this understanding, and it drove her absolutely mad. And she said, it's dangerous to drive with George Pransky in the car. They should have, they have drink driving rules. They should have George Pransky CD rules, because it's for sure going to send you to sleep, while you're driving. You speak so slowly, and so, like she said, it's a dangerous thing to do. She has all these lines and all these things about the principles, and she comes to the conference, and George was the one she used to make the most fun of. She comes to the conference, and who's speaking there the first session on the first day but George Fransky? And she's like, oh, no, why did I come? Why did I come to this conference? And she told me that what happened was she's sitting there through George Fransky, and her mind is telling her, why am I here? And why am I doing this? And this is a waste of time. And this is, but she'd come for a reason. She'd come because she was struggling. She'd come because she was having a really hard time in her life, and in particular with our daughter, but in general. And she says, some point along the way, she had this thought in her mind: do you want to be here or don't you want to be here? If you're here, why are you making such a fuss? If you're here, then be here and listen. And she said she started listening for the first time ever in her three principles learning experience. And she said she heard the most profound and unbelievable things from George. And then Bill Pettit got up next. Don't know if you guys know Bill, but I assume some of you do. And she said she just couldn't believe what she was hearing from Bill. And then Linda started speaking. It was like a triple whammy, you know. Then Linda Fransky, and she said by the end of that morning, she was like, oh my gosh, there is so much here, and there's so much wisdom here, and there's so much truth here, and there's so much that's real here. And she just got moved by it in the most profound and deep way that you could imagine. So coming back, like I said, I got a bit distracted with Hannah there, but we decided, you know, Sid came, and then Chip and Elsie came. Not very soon after Sid passed away. They were running their school, you know, they were running their school to try and share Sid's ideas in a pure way. And that, for one reason or another, we won't get into the details, but they wouldn't mind me sharing this. That didn't go so well. That wasn't so successful. They were kind of on their own learning curve once Sid passed away as to how to kind of recalibrate themselves. And I just thought to myself, hey, why don't we bring over some three principles speakers and kind of make a conference? Why don't we bring over a few of the real kind of quality speakers, and let's kind of put it out there for the community and see if people turn up and see if people come. So at the time, for the first conference, we got Linda Fransky and Kathy Casey. And I think George came, but I can't remember. Actually, I don't think George came. I'm not sure that George came to that first conference. It was Linda and Kathy and Aaron Turner. And I was hoping that we would get 60 or 70 people. That was like my dream. If we could get 60 or 70 people at this conference, that'll really kind of give me some encouragement and some sense that there's something happening here and that there's an interest and there's fertile ground. Anyway, the first conference, we had 120 people came. It was just absolutely unbelievable. I just couldn't believe where they came from and who were they and out the woodwork. And it was amazing. People got so moved and so touched. And Aaron was at that first conference with me, and he was looking to do work in England. And we said, hey, let's do something with this. And so the second conference, we had like 200 people, and we had 3 or 4 speakers. And then the third conference, we had 300 people, and we had 7 or 8 speakers. And it really became eventually, as Mark said, it built until pre-COVID 2019. We had over 900 people. And if you include the people online, we had over 1,000 people. And we had every speaker imaginable. You know, every kind of, you know, all of Sid's students, all of the people that were close to him kind of came to this conference. We had about 15 plus international speakers. And it was just absolutely amazing. You know, it just, and it seems to happen like this every year, is that every year it seems like it's the best conference you ever had. And we just can't top that. And then the next year comes along and we're like, oh my gosh, how could that possibly have been better than last year? Like last year was so good and so moving and so touching and so incredible. And now, you know, how do we beat that this year? And so what happened was, though, after COVID, and I'm almost done here, and I'm going to kind of see if people have any questions or any thoughts or any insights they want to share. Um, After COVID, uh, uh, we just lost a lot of the momentum. And I don't know what it was, and I don't know what happened within the community itself, but we lost some momentum, and we had to rebuild again. And we're sort of on that journey of rebuilding. But we've changed the conference as a result of that. Whereas the conference initially, when it was really big, was speakers speaking about everything under the sun, all sorts of applications and implications and experiences with the conference, people with the principles, the principles in mental health, or the principles in addiction, or the principles in relationships, or the principles here, there, and everywhere, and how you see them being used and how you see them impacting people's lives. And it was just a hodgepodge of everything possible. Um, we decided now to really focus it and to offer something different. And for the past 2 years, what we've decided to make it is just the principles in their purest sense. Just we want speakers to speak as deeply as possible about the principles, as deeply as they know how, as profoundly as they know how. Just talk about the principles themselves, not how they apply or where they're useful or where they're valuable or how they change people's lives. Just talk about the principles, because that's what we've kind of seen that, and it's what I saw in my journey, that when I started trying to fit it into something, fit it into Judaism and talk about it in that language or in that context, it diluted what they were about, and it diluted the impact, and it diluted the power. And instead, what we're trying to do now is just talk about them for what they are. And the way we see it in our experiences has been, the more you keep talking about it, and the more you keep learning about it, and the more you keep looking in that direction, for all of us, it seeps in, and it touches you more, and you see more, and your heart opens more, and you have more wisdom available to you, and that's what we want to share with people. That's what the conference is about. So it's it's in June every year now, and we still have the great speakers there. Mark's coming to the conference, and Dickens coming to the conference, and there's a lot of great speakers, and Linda Pransky's coming this year. She hasn't been for a few years because George hasn't been well, and it's great to be there with these people, and it's great to be there. The experience of just sharing this with a large group of people, a large audience of people, and the feeling in the room is absolutely amazing. And I'm just so grateful to be able to be a part of it. It's kind of great that I run it along with Aaron Turner, because um, it kind of means we got to be there every year, and we get to benefit from it, and we get to kind of engage fully and completely every year. And even last year, when my wife was heavily pregnant, and she was it was a very difficult pregnancy, and but I still need to be at the conference. And I was still, in the normal circumstances I probably wouldn't have come, but because I was running it, I kind of had to be there, and it was great. It was so helpful for me with the experience we were going through, to be able to kind of remind myself of this understanding, and remind myself as to kind of what's real and what's right and what's true in this world, and what the nonsense we get caught up in, especially when we're going through a little bit of a hard time. Um, and so I just love being a part of it, and I love being able to kind of put it out there and share it with the world. So,
Well, Shaul,
yeah.
I just love. I am so thankful that I thought of putting this together as a webinar, because people get a chance to see you, but you've also shared in different aspects of the morning of this hour together
Mm,
a deep, deep truth and understanding and value of these principles. And it's just wonderful. I was looking for a way, to come in and say to people, like, well, we have somebody who just loves to talk, as you can see. But I didn't want to interrupt the beautiful realizations and insights you were sharing with us. And I love that. I love that. Uh, I guess it's a saying about an angel touches a baby in the womb, and then they forget it when they're born. Sid says somewhat the same, that a baby is born with all of the wisdom, all of this beauty, and then they get contaminated by the world they live in, but they still have it within them.
Mhm.
So, Shaul, I'm sure everyone's thankful for everything you covered and being able to share with us, again, deeply and with just, to me, it really touched me several times, and the realizations of that you shared with us. What I could say real briefly, because I want to hear from people, and um, is that there's such a tremendous feeling of love at this conference. It's just pure love. And if you could imagine everyone being together, really dropping into our true nature of love, I've not seen it anywhere else. And so the dates of the conference, and so forth, I will be adding to the email when I send out this recording to everyone. But it starts on June 22nd. But it's a 3-day conference. And I will also share with you the link to 3P UK, so you can get directly from the organization emails about the conference. But are you open for hearing from people, Shaul?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Shaul, thank you for sharing all of that. Really, that was beautiful. I could tell your heart and your soul spoke to us. And you covered everything we wanted to talk about. I thought you might come up for air, but you were on a roll. You,
Yeah,
any,
sometimes I get on a roll and I'm just like,
it was, no, it was great. I had to be funny somewhere along here.
Mm.
Anybody have any questions for Shaul or anything you'd like to share with him? Just come on, come on. Yeah, Alberto.
Well, hello and thank you very much. I'm Alberto. I'm based in Madrid, and um, I started with the principles 2013 with James Mark. And going to London from Madrid, and the second year of his program, I was coached by Mark as well, which helped me a lot, really. And yeah, they have been. I mean, my life is different. There is a before and after, and um. I have a question. I'm gonna give in a couple of months a talk to business people. It's about the principles, but it's about they want to some businessy, you know, and so it's about communication and impact. And they know me as a different role, as analyst, IT analyst, and that's what I do. And they don't know me as, you know, principles and so this Friday they say, hey, we don't know Alberto as this thing, and so we're gonna have a chat with him. What is going on here? And what's he going to talk about? Because we are not sure if he should be talk about this new thing now. Well, now um they don't know me as as someone who speaks about something else apart from business, you know issues. No. And so the thing is, five people from the audience are going to have arranged a call next Friday to say, what on earth are you going to talk about in this event? They are not sure. Like, what is this? And Alberto, we have a position in our companies. Are you going to, what are you going to do? Coach us? They are, but at the same time, five people turn up for a call. So I'm sure they have some curiosity. So I'm between excited and afraid, both things, you know, and just because I'm a bit surprised. I'm happy to talk to them, but I'm a bit surprised as well. So I don't know. Any input from you would be welcome, really.
Well, I have a thought, and it's just a simple thought, really, and that is, we have a phrase in Judaism and we talk about it in the principles as well, that words that kind of come from the heart enter the heart, and I think when you speak heartfelt and when you speak something from your own knowing and from your own feeling, it's hard for people not to get touched by that. It's hard for people not to see something in that. And I think that you can have a confidence in that as well. That if you're speaking what you know, if you're speaking a truth that you've seen for yourself, something that is clear to you and heartfelt for you, I think they will see something in that as well. And I think you can speak that with confidence. If the minute you get into your head and you start thinking about, well, what should I say and how could I say it and what should I do and what's going to work for them, what's not going to work for them, you're going to kind of get lost in the confusion of it all. But if you can just kind of see how has this touched you, how have you been moved by this, how is it, you said there's a before and after, to share that with them, to share kind of the new Alberto versus the old one. I think you're onto a winner with that.
Okay.
That's my thought on that. I don't know if you would say anything on that, Mark.
No, I thought that was perfect. I was just going to share the feeling I had as you were talking is like, that's it, is to share what you've seen and share it from love, that you want the five participants, you want to love them and see that truly they're itching to have this understanding, whether they're aware of it or not. And you speak to what you've seen will resonate with them better than you thinking you've got to talk to them about the principles. Talk to them about what you know, how it's helped you, and what you want for sharing this with them. Why you want to share this is to give this to them. Be in the act of love. I think that's where to be, Alberto. So thank you for that, Alberto.
Thank you.
Anybody
Thank you
else?
very much.
Uh, Anybody else have anything you want to ask of Shaul or share? You can just unmute yourself and ask him a question or share.
I don't have a question, more of a comment. I appreciated, Shaul, your story and also your wife's story.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I appreciated. It's almost like I'll go and I'll take classes. I get it when I'm in the classes, and then, a week or two later, it's like my old mechanism comes back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still, I see in some of the old-time trainers, I'm gonna say, like what Hannah was saying, right? Like a sense of oh, they're so happy, right? Like
Yeah.
that sense of well-being, that sense of well-being. And I have it sometimes, and then many times I don't. So I can see there's still some ways to go, but there was something that I was just appreciating about hearing about your wife's story.
Oh, that's great. We're so one of the things the principles points us towards, certainly points me towards, is kind of my own humanity, and this is true of my wife as well, and it's something that we often talk about. It is that we get lost, and it's impossible not to. It's just you're never going to kind of reach this point whereby you just kind of are living on even keel with always feeling good, always feeling happy, always feeling uplifted, and so that's not what the principles kind of point you towards. It actually points you towards the fact that we are flawed and imperfect human beings who kind of do the best we can, and insight and wisdom really help us do the best we can, but they're not a foolproof answer to our humanity. Our humanity kind of takes over on a regular basis, and we find ourselves really lost. And if that's one of the most helpful things that I've learned from this understanding is to know that it's really okay not to be okay. And it doesn't say anything about how I'm going to be doing in the next 5 minutes, the fact that I'm really struggling now. Or if I'm struggling in the next
Yeah.
5 minutes still, it doesn't say anything about the next 5 minutes or this afternoon or tomorrow. I remember when I first learned this, and like I say, my wife didn't, Hannah didn't. And so I'd wake up in the morning sometimes and I would say, I'd be sitting on the bed and I would say, "Oh, I'm feeling really depressed this morning." And Hannah would say, "Well, what's the matter? What's the problem? What happened, or what's going on in your life, or what?" And I would say to her, genuinely, I wasn't trying to put on a show here. It's just kind of how I saw it at that point. I would say, "Well, I don't really know, but I don't feel I need to know." And she would say, "Well, you have to know, otherwise you're not going to sort it out." And I would say, "Well, I kind of feel like my experience has been if I just kind of get on my life, I'll probably be feeling better this afternoon. And if not, then I'll probably be feeling better tomorrow." And she was like, oh, she couldn't take that. She was very flustered by that. She was like, no, 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 there's a problem. You got to sort it out. And I think that's one of the things the principles has taught me, that I don't need to solve my problems. They solve themselves better than I can solve them. The world kind of plays through, and the journey that I'm on kind of works itself out for me if I'm not busy trying to solve it myself. And so, yes, I love what you're saying there, that kind of humanness that catches up with us all on a regular basis, and learning to not be flustered by it and even to embrace it. I kind of love it. I love the idea that I get lost every now and then. I'm still human. I think it's great to be human. I think it's a cool thing, that we're imperfect, and we get annoyed, we get frustrated, and then we find ourselves again.
Yeah.
There's a great, you guys probably didn't have this in America, so I'm wasting my time with this one as well, probably. But there was a little toy in the 1980s, I would say, little kids' toy called Weebles. Did anybody see the Weebles, the Weeble toys? No, didn't have those in
Some
America.
people have.
They have
Some
them in
people
Spain,
have.
yeah. I don't know if you remember the phrase. They were like these little round people with like egg shaped, and they had a ball bearing at the bottom. And so you'd like push them around, and they would kind of go back and forth, and then they'd kind of right themselves again. And the advert was the tune, the jingle was "Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down." And I love that, because that's what we are. We're weebles. We wobble, we wobble all the time. But we don't fall down. We don't fall down. We kind of right ourselves again. And I really love that. I really love that Weebles metaphor. It's a shame you didn't have it in America, so you can't appreciate it really.
Oh man, how it's just so wonderful to hear you.
Mm.
You It's just so helpful to the people here on the webinar. And I can see, is it Kinneret?
Yeah.
Am I right? Kinneret?
Kinneret, Kinneret.
Kinneret? I could see smiles on her face as you're
Yeah.
talking. What a gem to have you. You're really just speaking from this wisdom all this time together with us. I just what just came to mind. I don't want to interfere with how beautifully Shaul is sharing with us, but at the end of the Missing Link book, it says something like Sid saying something like, you know, um, people that are troubling you, you want to forgive them. They've just lost their way, and it's like what you said, Kinneret. It's like we lose our way, and you just want to have understanding for that. That's being human. We have
It's like
time for one more. Oh, Shaw, yeah,
no, I was just going to say it's like compassion for yourself.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
something I've really learned in this understanding is to
yeah.
have compassion for myself.
Um, anyone else with one more with any with the last question for Shaw? Anybody have a one more question or something you'd like to ask him? Well, I think people are going to listen to this recording over and over again. So many gems of wisdom, and we have Shaw here to just let you know about the 3P UK conference coming up in June, and we got so much more. Oh my goodness, this is a webinar on wisdom and the truth of the principles. Isn't that something? And I loved so much of what you shared, Shaw.
Thank you, Mark.
And so thankful that people joined us and listened with respect. I could see people really just hearing you and taking in what you had to share. And so the recording will be sent out. And again, the 3P UK conference is in London, starts on Sunday, June 22nd, and ends on Tuesday, June 24th. The other thing to let everybody know is I'm going to do a Sunday event seminar, full day seminar, the Sunday before the event on June 15th. So if you're in the area, come by. You'll also be getting notices of that as well as notices of the conference.
And
Shaw?
both of those are available virtually as well.
Yeah, oh
There's
yeah,
no
that's right.
question. Yeah, it's so much better to be there because the feeling in the room is just so beautiful. But I realize you guys probably live a long way away. You do get a feeling for that on virtually as well.
Oh
You
yeah,
do get a sense of you kind of joining in that experience and in that feeling virtually also.
that's right. It's a hybrid conference, in
Yeah,
person and virtually. And the feeling comes through, as you know, just like here, being with us, the feeling came through. So thank you all for being here. Um, and Shaw, thank you so much for sharing with us this deep, deep wisdom and your humanity and just you, who you are.
thank you.
Yeah.
And good luck to you, Alberto. You're going to do great. Give us
Thank
some.
you.
Tell us how it went. I know that these 5 people are going to get so much from what you share with them.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Uh,
Okay, nice to see you all. Real pleasure.
okay.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.